Hello, and welcome to the first episode of our little series called Making Invites Easy. The purpose of this 3-episode series is so that we can get comfortable with and make progress in the art of invitation. Because let's face it, when it comes to that moment where you're inviting someone to anything church or Christian related, we all know how daunting it can be. I'm sure most of you can relate to those situations where you are chatting to someone and the moment to hit that invite comes. But as you approach that moment, you start getting a bit anxious, the pulse starts beating faster, the heart starts beating faster, maybe you break out in a little sweat, maybe your mouth runs dry. And then before you know it, you're back home, you didn't take the opportunity, and you think to yourself, what on earth was I thinking? It's not like it was a marriage proposal. The truth is that we invite people to things all the time. But when it comes to church or Christian life-related activities, we really put ourselves under so much unnecessary pressure. When all we're talking about is a teeny tiny invite, which of course has potential for life-changing consequences, of course. So in today's episode, we are looking at the big idea of breaking barriers when it comes to making invites easy. Listen to these words from the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 9, verse 19 to 23, which Amanda's going to read for us.
Though I am free and belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone to win as many as possible. To the Jews, I became like a Jew to win the Jews. To those under the law, I became like one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, so as to win those under the law. To those not having the law, I became like one not having the law, though I am not free from God's law, but am under Christ's law, so as to win those not having the law. To the weak I became weak to win the weak. I have become all things to all people, so that by all possible means I might save some. I do all this for the sake of the gospel, that I may share in its blessings.
Thanks so much, Amanda. Well, there you have it, folks. The shape-shifting transformer Apostle Paul, ready to make the most of any situation for the sake of the gospel. Notice there that Paul never compromises his identity, but he's always ready to tweak his approach to the audience at hand. And when it comes to inviting someone to church, here is a valuable principle to keep in mind. Do whatever it takes to make the giving and receiving of the invites as easy as possible. Actually, guys, can you put that up on the screen where you just put the words nice and big? Do whatever it takes to make the giving and receiving of the invite as easy as possible. Now, as we chew on this principle, it's helpful to think through some legitimate barriers that actually do exist when it comes to inviting people to things. And if we're going to be successful at landing that invite, it's good to be aware of these. The first is the barrier of isolation. For the past few years, most of us haven't been inviting people to anything really. And so we're unfamiliar with it. The people receiving the invites are unfamiliar with it. And so it can feel a little bit awkward and maybe even forced sometimes. My advice is that you start small. Focus on something like a coffee date or going for a walk with someone. Hopefully that will not feel so weird. And hopefully the person won't respond by saying, send me the meeting ID or the Zoom password. Now, the second is the barrier of inconvenience. We all love our weekends, and most of us have got used to having Sundays all to ourselves. We need to recognize that between work, schools, extramurals, and government regulations, most of our lives have been programmed for us. If you're thinking about inviting someone to church, it would be good to think ahead, maybe start planning in advance. Give them a good amount of heads-up time. And as you approach that day, think about reminding them of it and pray that nothing will distract or deter them from coming to church with you. Our third is the barrier of church baggage. Many people have had bad experiences, unfortunately, when it comes to church. They've been hurt, they've been disappointed, they've been let down. And then there's also a whole bunch of people who've probably never been to church. And so the whole experience will be so new for them. Now, thanks be to God for live streaming. What we can do these days is give people a taster of the experience, wet their toes, so to speak, by maybe sharing a link of one of our services with them. That way they get to see what it's all about, they get a feel for it. And so when you invite them to come join you on site for church or for a Christian event of sorts, well, hopefully it'll be a whole lot easier. The final barrier is you. It's me. It's us. We really do spend a lot of time in our minds and in our own insecurities. We fret over questions like, when will I ask? How will I ask? What will I say? How will they respond? What will they think of me? We often forget that age-old line that we should be speaking to God about people even before we speak to people about God. So don't worry too much about it. Pray for the person, pray for the opportunity, and practice, practice, practice the art of invitation. Here, take a look at how easy it can be to invite someone to something.
Hey Amanda, you want to go for a run?
You want to go for a walk?
You want to go for a swim?
Swim with this head.
What?
Yeah, you've gone too far. Hey, late. Do you want to grab a coffee?
How about a pizza and a milkshake?
Ooh, aren't you in the mood for a Gatsby, mate?
Gatsby, oh, you're talking my language, girl. Yes, man.
Hey, late. We've been hanging out quite a bit lately, hey, and I've really enjoyed that.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you, by any chance, like to come to church one Sunday with me?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Will you send me the details?
Yeah, I will.
Cool.
Great.
Awesome.
And there you have it. We invite people to things all the time. And once you oil that invitation engine, it's going to feel a whole lot easier and more natural inviting people to church. So the challenge is for you to think of someone you'd like to invite. Start praying for them and start inviting them to things. Remember the breaking barrier principle. Do whatever you can to make the giving and the receiving of the invite as easy as possible. We look forward to seeing you in our next episode.